We are working now. Well, we just finished a retrospective on the goblins, which were um, a race that we were designing about a year and a half, 2 years ago, perhaps more farther back than that. I don't know. Um, we're working on the last human class right now, and the humans are the class that we're going to feature in our demo um, on Kickstarter, and we're hopefully going to set our due date for that for May. So hopefully you guys will be able to play fairly shortly. But meantime, while I'm eating these meatballs and delicious pita chips and drinking my orange juice, um, as I was gone, as well, JJ and fairly amused, I think.
Oh, the guy said it's okay that we're boring. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I
guys were
love you.
boring.
And I love you, random citizen.
I I told Logan why we scrapped the bard.
What did you say?
Why
That
he's
we had another mana base class that did that the bard's effects better
Yeah,
in a more interesting way. And the bard is just like a healer except for mana.
it's hard to do in a musician class. Interesting way. I don't know why that is. Maybe that's one of the secret, like, hidden rules of RPG.
bards are just hard to make.
Uh huh. But buffing other people is not fun. I will say that and stick by it.
I mean, personally, you can find
It
it
can
fun.
be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, no, no.
No.
In and of itself, buffing people is not fun.
No, in Dota, the Ancient Apparition has a buff where it always gives it to him no matter what, and whoever he clicks it on also gets it.
Right, but
That's pretty fun.
that's because it does something for you too.
Yeah.
Buffing other
Yeah,
people is not
you-
fun.
You just have to make the buffing fun.
There you go. But buffing in and of itself is not fun. It's like I could make pinching fun if I wanted to. I give you like $100 million every time I pinch you. You're gonna love me. But that doesn't make it doesn't make the pinching fun.
Unless I enjoy pinching.
Unless you enjoy pinching, but that's like a strange subset of people executed.
Wow.
Just like
whoa, we're
rearrange
just
your
about to let go.
nerves. Yeah, we're just
No.
gonna rearrange our nerves, and then make the bad feel the good. There's people that don't feel at all.
Right.
They wouldn't know if pinching was good or bad.
I think this is going in the wrong direction.
Aside from like a meta discussion on pinching, based on an analogy, the reason that buffing people, other people besides yourself, is not fun, because while it's been shown that we derive enjoyment from giving other people things, we generally do not derive enjoyment from virtual representations of ourselves giving other people things. Because when we are virtually represented, none of our previous identity is tied to our character, except for the choices we make with that character. And so, narratively, you might be able to give another character something and that would make sense. But in terms of your core systems that are supposed to produce fun within a player, like to make them forget about everything that's going on around them, to make them want to play, you are appealing to the most selfish part of that person's brain, the button that makes them want to keep going fun, 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 instead of doing something else that they loathe, might disinterest them, or acknowledging their existence, which is generally not as fun or as interesting as the experience that they paid you to enjoy. And in that way, when you're buffing other people or supporting other people, your selfish side of your brain is saying, I could be doing that. Like, I could be the one using those buffs to do something. That's why generally, I guess it's not a hard and fast rule, but generally, if you're buffing people, it's not fun. Because developers seem to have it in their support classes need to selflessly buff everyone else. But if that's the only thing that you're playing, if that's the only thing that you can control, you can get a little bit resentful. Like, I don't know how many. You might be able to go find 100 to 1,000 of them, right? Of healers from World of Warcraft complaining about their bodies. And every other class does it too. But I think that the healers have the most valid complaint. And I suppose I should elucidate or expand upon said. The reason I think that they is valid is because everything that they're doing is to ensure that other people continuing to enjoy the experience that the group as a whole are enjoying going through. And when other people start bitching out healers for missing their marks, healing correctly, or anything else, all that the healer can think is that I'm only experiencing the game vicariously through you guys. And when you're dicking me, when you're not appreciative of what I'm doing, it just makes the whole thing suck. And that's why you don't see very many people healers in games unless it's absolutely required of them. Those games are multiplayer.
Yeah, I remember in World of Warcraft, healing was so boring to me that I just kind of entertained myself by jumping every time I healed, because the dwarfs would like throw their hands up in the air every time you healed. So I was just like having a fucking blast, just, concentrating on jumping up and down instead of healing. And I guess that kind of makes sense because, I mean, as a player character, it's all I really had to do. Like, I wasn't, progressing as a character at that time in battle. I was just kind of helping everyone else not die.
You were taking back some form of agency for yourself, reappropriating experience. I've got to heal and just heal bot the whole time. I'm gonna do something for myself. A jump. I'm gonna raise the roof. That's cool. I mean, it's awesome that you did that. It's just
That's
that
how
I think,
you make buffing fun.
yeah, I think that developers should add that jumping thing to the
Quick,
healing to make it
quick
fun.
time events to heals.
Um, huh, more like
I would be fine with that.
more like something like
I love quick time events.
Crypt of the Necrodancer, where you have to stay on
Right.
beat or something. Maybe that's how you make a bard class that's interesting. They have to stay on beat while they're healing. That would be really fun.
There's
Unfortunately,
actually a what was it? Fourth of July, um, or not 4th of July, April Fool's joke. Um, that World of Warcraft Blizzard people did, where they're like, we're gonna make a Guitar Hero class, and like you'd have to like keep up with the notes to do more damage.
well, it's actually a good idea depending on. The issue is, you like at first you say like, yeah, okay, we could do a cool bard like that, and then expand that to every single other class, and it's still the same thing.
What do you
You know?
mean? Like it's still
Like, oh,
this is
we could do a cool warrior with that. You know, it's not that it happens to work equally. It's not that it happens to specifically work well with the bard. It's that it works well, or just as well with any class that's not entirely taxed mentally and physically reaction wise with whatever it is they're doing.
That's how to make MOBAs not dead anymore. Or no, MMOs. That's what I meant to say.
It could be interesting. You'd have to think of a lot of many diverse and divergent mechanics like that to make the game interesting. At least enough for me to want to play
Kirby, we should use the leftover budget to make Jump Healer the game.
it. Maybe.
It'll just be like this, like 2 pixel man, and you just watch other 2 pixel men run and fight monsters that are 3 pixels, and you got to heal them because they got less pixels than the enemies.
What would be cool is if your health bar was denoted by how many pixels you were. So there's like an
Honestly,
immediate visual feedback. So you have like a guy who's 4 pixels tall. When he's low on health, he goes down to 1 pixel tall. See what I mean?
pixel jumper.
Yeah, it's just like, and maybe like you can only traverse environments by being so many pixels tall. So you have to go and lose health by fighting things, and then go through and then gain health. And
One game at a time, guys.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's not about healing. Talk about making healing fun.
No, no, it is about healing, just tangentially. Um, so, do we still have people in chat?
It
No
looks like
one's talking.
So the main event is about to begin. About to go back to work on the Cabaretto. Um, I think that maybe it would be useful for us to explain the Cabaretto thus far, what we're trying to do with it, and then expand. Because it'll be a nice refresher for us and for the audience.
right.
So I'll go through and explain what I think the first ability is supposed to do, and then uh, Logan, you go through and explain what the second ability is supposed to do. JJ, you go through and explain the third. And if we have anything to add, we'll go through and we'll like add to whatever the person's saying.
I have to re-pull up the doc.
Right.
That's not the right doc.
So rank one is 7 mana, which doesn't really mean much, I guess, to you guys at home. But because the Cabaret is a melee class, it only starts with 20 mana. So using this ability outside of your natural regen, which you have 3 mana regen per turn, would mean that you could use the ability about 4 times before you run out of mana. So it's pretty good. It's not a super taxing mana cost. It's an active. And there are 2 speeds of abilities in our game: basic and active. Actives are like instants from Magic the Gathering, and basics are like sorceries. So you can only use a basic during your turn. So what this allows you to do is you can attack during your turn as a basic action, and then you can save this ability and use it at any point in time during enemies' turns. Or you can use it during your turn if you really want to, but I don't think that it would do very much unless someone is attacking you actively, which they can do. A lot of classes will have an active attack. Um, so anyway, you may have target ally on your row become the target of an attack or ability that targets you. Um, so that's what the ability does at rank 1. Um, Basically, it lets you switch the damage onto someone else, and sort of survive a little bit better. So you can stay on the front row and keep on attacking people even though you don't have a ton of sustain. And it's not like a great ability at rank 1, but it does make you tankier than most, if only by the fact that you can avoid damage. And some of you may be saying, because the Cabaretto is a roguish class, why do I want to be tankier? Um, and I think that what we're not really going for is so much the tanky identity. And in fact, you're even displacing damage onto your allies at this point. Um, I think I sort of mean more survivability, or uh, it, instead of survivability, perhaps just avoidance. The ability to avoid damage is something that you're accessing. And that's something that we'd like to promote on the class. Now, there is a second part to the ability. However, that second part will only be shown to players once they get their rank 3 passive. Um, and that second part is, if you are wearing the mask, which you get at rank 3, you may become the target of an attack or ability that targets an ally on an adjacent row. That enemy receives direct damage equal to half the damage dealt. So this second part here applies to the first part and the second part of the ability. Unfortunately, because of the semantics of ability creation, it's awkward whether we put this at the end of the first part or at the end of the second part. If you were just reading through it in game, it would say you may have target ally on your row, like the first sentence, and then it would immediately say this sentence. And then once you got the rank 3 passive, it would show if you were wearing the mask, blah, 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 and then it would show this again. Or it would make it clear to you that both effects render damage to the enemy. I think that's as exhaustive as I can be. Do you guys have anything you wanted to add?
No, I think what covers it.
Okay. So I think it's you, Logan, for rank 2.
Oh, I'm trying to refresh myself on what it does.
Mhm.
So, I'm really bad at explaining things, so I'm just gonna get that out of the way right now.
No problem.
I'm just gonna read it real quick. The next instance of damage that you would take during this combat cycle is shared between you and the enemy. This first half is, again, like with the rank 1, you're just gonna see this. You're only gonna see this before you get your rank 3. And when you get rank 3, you will then be able to see if you're wearing the mask card. And pretty much what this first part's doing is, man, I'm bad at this. Oh, man. Really what this is trying to do is, in conjunction with the rank 1, you're not just... Oh, man, I can't explain things.
It's okay. They're
that's just not my strong suit.
They're fairly confusingly worded.
Yeah.
But I think you were very much on the right track with saying that it is working in conjunction with the rank. Only really would be viable with the existence of that ability.
Yeah, I'm just... Man, I know how it works, but I just can't explain how it works.
Sure. If you'd prefer, I can go through on it. I just wanted to provide you
an opportunity to make a fool of myself. Yeah.
No. I didn't want to do that. I'm sorry. If I had known you were uncomfortable with speaking.
No, I'm not uncomfortable. I'm just bad at it. We're good. It's good.
Okay. Excellent. Well, anyway, what the ability is trying to do, what we want players, the connection that we want players to make, is that you can throw damage off of yourself at this point if you need to, but also in the event that you perhaps are interested in... It is more complicated to explain. The ability itself doesn't work super well even with the rank 1 at this point. It works fairly okay because you can use the rank 1 after you've used the rank 2 to keep yourself alive. And that's something that you want to be doing. But let's say that a mage is charging up something really big and you know that you're going to be the target of it, or you know that it's very likely that you will be. What you can do is you can pay 7 mana, and now that mage knows that they should not be hitting you with that spell, because it'll go very poorly for them if they do. And that's something that you can take advantage of to sort of direct damage to your teammates, or direct damage away from yourself. And in conjunction with rank 1, it allows you to, if you're able to be very good about the mines, you can send some direct damage the way of the enemy, and perhaps even kill that mage with half of the damage that they were going to deal, or half the damage that they did deal, I should say. Does that cover it? I think that should, and maybe that even gave me some insights into how the rank 2 is a bit flawed.
Yeah.
It's not quite there if you don't have the mask.
Yeah, we built it trying to... I mean, we did make it after we made the rank 3.
Right.
I think we were thinking ahead of ourselves. Just a little bit.
Yeah. So the thing that we're talking about right now, in case it wasn't clear, is that with this ability, with your rank 1 ability, what we're basically telling you until you get your rank 3 passive is that you should be using this to survive better. And then with the rank 2, we're telling you something, or we're giving you conflicting information. We're telling you that perhaps you want to take some damage. And the two abilities don't, except for the fact that they allow you to survive better, work all that well together until you get your rank 3. So at level 2, when you have these two abilities, as a player, you might be thinking, well, this is kind of a janky kit, or a little bit weird. When you get to rank 3, you're like, oh, okay, it all makes sense. But you don't ever want to have the player thinking, okay, this is kind of janky. Why do I have this? Or why is this being done in this way? I don't think, at least. I'd rather be completely clear with my players about the direction that their toolkit is headed in, and surprise them with things that make sense rather than surprise them by adding abilities that make sense later or make more sense later. And I'm not sure if that's like a core tenet of design or something like that, or like a universal truth of design. It's just something that we've noticed, that it happens to go better if you craft the experience toward making more sense for the player initially. It also lowers the skill floor quite a bit, I think. So we'll have JJ go through rank 3 if he wants to. I'll make sure that that's actually something you want to do first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, so rank 3 is pretty much the point where you get the mask, and it unlocks the second half of the ranks 1 and 2, which is awesome by itself, just that. But it's got a neat little second ability where if you have the mask on, you can summon a clone of yourself, but only if you fall between 50 and 20% of your max health. So, if you're, low on your health, you can cleave your health in half to activate this ability to create a clone of yourself that can, do. We haven't really fleshed out what it can do. Kirby thinks he wants to have it be able to do anything you can do as far as abilities are concerned, but it's pretty much like sacrificing survivability to pretty much double your damage output, but it puts you incredibly low. Like if you're at, let's say 40, or if you're at 50% and you decide to use this ability, it'll take you down to 25% health, and your clone will have 25% of your health. What this also does is it masks your HP bar, if that makes sense. So the enemies can't see what your health's at, so they won't know that you're as low as you are. So there's a little bit of inability synergies there, and we think that later on in the tree you're gonna unlock a lot of of these dual type abilities where if you have the mask on, it ends up being more risky, and when you have the mask off, you're more conservative. But I don't know if we're going to push with that or not. Kirby suggested that it drains your health when the mask's on to kind of, capitalize on that.
Yeah.
But it's very much a stance fighter type of. Well, it's turning out to be a stance fighter type of class.
Yeah, I just thought of something for the draining.
Sure.
What if it's not just draining your health, but the mask is storing it, and when you're hit, it releases that.
Storing the health. Oh, okay. So interesting.
And it heals you, because I know we've been trying to think of a reaction to take from taking damage.
So, what you're saying is, when an enemy attacks you and deals damage to you, the damage that you take is stored within the mask. When you remove the mask, you gain that HP back.
No, if the mask is continuously draining your HP.
Okay.
As soon as you remove it, or maybe if you get hit, the HP it drained from you drops out of the mask and heals you.
Interesting. So you can use it to put yourself between certain thresholds, and then if you feel like you're getting too low, you can pop your mask off and go back to sort of pseudo healthy.
Right, but I can also see where that would be bad because you're just popping out summons.
Yeah, it's so what's the
It is a
concern
little
that
risky because if depending on how much it drains, that's what we can decide on how much it heals.
well when JJ was talking about it, what I sort of realized is that that draining health aspect of the mask is actually just something it does that the player does behavior wise when they're wearing it. Like the player is actively working to reduce their life total. So maybe it's not something that we even need to include as a mechanic because the player is doing it on their own. You know?
Yeah, if all
Yeah,
the abilities in the kit end up being more risky if you have the mask, then that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. You said it in a certain way, JJ, and it just made me think like, wow, okay, so that's what the mask is actually functionally doing without us even saying that that's what it's doing, um, in a concrete way, um, or explicitly. We're not even explicitly stating that, but the subtext is basically that you're going to lose health when you put the mask on.
right.
I still think that the idea of taking the mask off and gaining health back is a good one.
What if I know? Sorry, I'm interrupting you again.
No, no problem.
What if the health you spent while the mask was on? What if when you remove it, you gain half of that back?
You spent when the mask was on.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, no, I do. I think the issue there is that it's gonna make it. I mean, it takes two turns for you to do that. To
Yeah.
you have to spend health with the mask on. Like at the very beginning, on turn one, you get to choose to put your mask on, and then you can spend a bunch of health, and then you can take the mask off, and that'll regen your health. But then the next turn, you have to put the mask back on. So it's every other turn you can make a clone if you can put yourself between the values of 20% and 50% with the health gain that you're getting back. I feel like that's something that we need to put toward the end of the kit if we were going to add it in.
Right. I'm not saying currently
Sure.
at this set of ranks. I'm saying as an idea at some point,
I think it's probably necessary to have something that gives you some sustain.
especially if you're spending all this HP, and if you can tie it in with the loss while wearing. I mean, if you're losing while you're wearing it, you should gain something when you're not.
I think that maybe we were talking about it earlier, and I think that JJ had an idea about, or maybe it was you. I'm not sure. I would hate to misattribute the idea, so take credit if it's yours. It was that if your clone died from you redirecting damage to it,
Yeah, that was me.
you would regain the health that you'd spent on it,
Yeah, something like
something
that.
like
Yeah.
that. I think that that's
Maybe
a
not the full cost, but something.
I think that that's probably a pretty good idea because, and I don't think that it should be the health that you spent on it. I think it should be the health that it has left
That would probably be better.
because then you can create clones as health banks for yourself
Yeah.
if you don't send them out of invisibility.
Yeah, tying back into the deception of the entire character.
Right. Um, but you can also be a little bit riskier, reveal the clone, have it take some actions, hope it doesn't die, and go even riskier and try and have multiple health banks going.
Right.
And in that way, there's no point where you can ever revive up to your full health amount on your own, or maybe we need to find a way of getting you to stay between the values of 50% and 20% without you being able to get back up to like 70 or something.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a pretty good solution.
What if there's a heal cap based on that, where you can't gain more than this amount through this ability? Sort of
Those
like how the overheal cap works.
those always feel sort of awkward, I guess. It's not necessarily that like saying this is the max amount of damage that it can do is bad. It's just that I think that you should craft the ability in such a way that you don't need to say it.
Right.
Or at least that's what I'm starting to think. You can go back as soon as the or as recently as the dwarves and see abilities that look like that, but we're trying to get away from. Wow. There was something I wanted to say about.
I wanted to bring up the fact that this is looking a lot like the Immortal, and
Yes.
if we actually wanted to do a health management class, even when we already have a very intensive management-based class within the humans.
Yeah. You're right that it is difficult to, and maybe it wouldn't. Maybe the identities wouldn't build. But I do think that that's an interesting idea, though. Like,
Health management?
no, having the health banks, like having your clones be health banks, is a good thing because it ties back in to your rank 3 ability. It makes your rank 3 ability a
Well,
core ability.
it'll never heal you past 50%.
Yeah, it'll never heal you past 50%. That's the
It
main
keeps you
thing.
there because you spend 25% to make it. What's that put you at? 25. If you immediately bring the health back, you're back at 50. You will never have more than 50% health gained this way.
Right.
It does it on its own.
But
Like I said, you don't have to state it in the skill.
the issue is that then you cannot use it as a way of recovering HP. The lower you take yourself, the more risk you expose yourself to. There's no way of really coming back from it.
Right.
And there's no way within. I mean, Bolfus kind of. That's one of the Cavalier mounts for people watching. Allows for you to regen HP. The Cavalier has lifesteal. Um, the other two classes, the Ridsmith has an ability that can heal you based on damage you've taken.
Lost Starter has the scavenge.
Lost Rider has scavenge. So I guess there are a few heals, but um, I think what we want is for this class to actually, rather than being between 20% and 50% all the time, to be a little bit closer to hovering between the values of 60% and 10%. So we need to find something that is a little bit restorative, like gets you a little bit over the line. Maybe it's that. Maybe maybe it revolves around having the clones have to do something before you can sacrifice. Maybe they can't be invisible when you sacrifice them, but if they've survived long enough for you to sacrifice them, then you can gain back more.
What if you can, like, temporarily take health from teammates?
Um,
Like, stealing it from, like, a tank who you know has enough endurance to, like, block things. And you can
That goes
just be
back
like,
to what you were saying earlier about switching damage to an ally with a mask and throwing masks at allies.
okay, yeah, I really liked the mask idea, the masks on allies idea. So maybe we can link those two. I don't like the concept of stealing health here. I don't feel like the Cabaretto would be vindictive in that. I think that the mask idea.
it's more like borrowing, because you'd be obliged to give it back after, like, a turn.
Uh,
It's
yeah,
like you know you're gonna get bursted, so you're like, you take health from someone who's not using it.
yeah. Let me. I think that there's an issue with rank 2 right now that's occupying some of my attention. Maybe we can find a way to make rank 2 do some of what we're trying to figure out. Firstly, the rank 2 needs to work with the rank 1 more seamlessly, because as of right now, they're trying to do two opposed things until you get rank 3. So maybe we can find a way of introducing that healing aspect in now, um, which would work well within the first two abilities even.
So we are going with the whole health management.
I think that we're far enough away from working on the immortal that we'll probably have some other ideas about how that mechanic can be handled. And when I went through the Immortal recently, there were only two or three abilities that were any good anyway. I think the concept is strong, but there's no reason why we can't use some of that concept here.
Well, the major problem I have is uh, managing your health with the end goal of killing yourself to revive yourself um, is a lot stronger character ident and class ident than
True,
creating clones of yourself by nuking your health.
true. This don't think that you should ever have more than about two of these clones.
Then put in. I know you don't want to. Put in a max that you can have at one time.
But like, here's what I'm thinking though is that like we don't necessarily need a maximum if we make it very difficult for someone to do, and we've already done that. You
Yeah,
know,
that's what. Right now, I don't think anyone would want more than two
more
out,
than
and
two.
I don't actually think they can have more than two out.
Yeah. At this
Seeing
stage,
as the only way they can heal is from them, if we go with that.
right? I think that JJ is right in that we don't want someone who's just managing health, but at the same time, the rank three lends itself incredibly well to that sort of class, and we are building the class off of the mask. Like that is what
I
we're
also
doing.
think there can be better theming because how does this entertainer lady create clones of herself?
It's more like when you put the mask on, anyone could be the Cabaretto.
But
That's the thing,
as far as functionally, it literally makes a copy of yourself.
right?
Like if that's the kind of ident that you're looking for, then we need to make new skills.
Maybe what happens is that the copy of maybe we make this more about the mask that's on the clone. If and that's actually sorry that's not detailed enough.
I kind of get what you're saying. Like
We're building the
like
clones around the clone.
as an actor, they're creating this image of themselves for spectators to see, even though it's not the true image.
Right.
Maybe that's the kind of thing that you want to push.
Yeah, it is. It is the thing that I want to push thematic. So maybe having the clone take the mask off would be our way of balancing this. Because okay, so here's what I was thinking at least, and I think that maybe there's actually even a better way to do it than this. But I have the two thoughts competing in my head right now, so I have to get one out. Um, your clone comes in with a mask on. If it takes the mask off, the clone goes away. But it restores health to you equal to the amount of health that it had, and maybe even some extra.
It had plus the number of turns it was out.
Add times the number of turns it was out.
Times, yeah.
That would be interesting.
Certainly make them people want to keep it out more and push the limit of how long they can survive without cashing in on their health bank.
Except the only problem with times is as soon as you get to turn two, that's 50% of your health. That's half
Yeah.
your health.
Yeah, it's like you'd have to do some strange mathy thing like plus one times blah blah blah, or like an additional 10 health per turn it's out. I don't want tracking that. Uh, anyway, the thing that I wanted to at least communicate was that I think that maybe the clone should do something when its mask comes off. That's different than what you do. Like maybe that's the way of signaling that the clone wasn't you. And when that's signaled, then something should happen. You know, like the clone should reveal itself to be something else or do something else. Um, I don't know what that thing would be. I don't know how we'll even attach more to this ability. I do know that um, as of right now, it's feeling increasingly like the rank 3 passive is going to need to be retooled to fit. I really like the idea of a copy, like a clone that's wearing a mask. I feel like the more we add to this ability,
Personification of a specific character that the actor has done or something.
what might be more interesting is I like the idea that JJ had about proliferating masks out to
Yeah,
to your team,
you toss them to your team.
right? Um, we're having it orchestrated in such a way that they can put their mask on. Maybe like you hand out masks while maybe your clone can hand out masks to people. It's the action it can take while it's invisible.
What if maybe when he takes the mask off himself and does the thing, he gives it to someone else?
Oh, I actually have an idea. Have one clone and make it more important.
Yeah.
Instead of being able to make multiples.
Yeah, it does feel a little bit lazy, I think, of us maybe to be saying like, yeah, okay, you get a clone and it's a copy of you. I think it should be more directed.
I mean, if we felt like it, the entire class could be based around interacting with this clone, but I don't know
I
if
feel like
that's
that's
what
what
we're
we're
going.
leading into unknowingly. I feel like we're accidentally doing that.
Once per combat cycle, if you're between 20% and 50%, yeah, I agree with you though. It does
Yeah.
feel like. Do we have any questions in the chat? I just want to check.
I
It is delayed.
exited it out and I didn't know how to get back to the chat window.
Do you want me to send it to you?
Yeah.
The separation of time between us and the chat is less than a minute, but significant time where, you know, I'd have to wait a little bit.
So what I was just thinking through was that it would be really interesting to have it be that your clone can hand out masks while it's as the thing that it's doing. I just don't know what that does in and of itself at rank 3. It doesn't do anything at rank 3 technically, and you'd have to tack on so much text to explain.
Right.
It feels like this this clone thing is something that we can add later on and doesn't even have to be a part of the rank 3 ability.
No.
It feels like the mask could do something else entirely. I think the first thing that it does is interesting on its own. So this, for those of you watching, is an example of a really cool idea not fitting and being diligent enough to move it. We had issues with this in the past. But I think that what you guys have said is really very true. I don't want to. It always kind of, maybe this is just me talking about it in retrospect, but it always kind of felt sort of weird. It wasn't perfect, didn't fit perfectly, but it was cool enough that it felt like we could maybe make it work.
Right. So the question now is,
What is
do
it?
we move on to a different rank, or
No, I don't
do we
think
fix rank 3?
we've got to fix rank 2 and rank 3.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm going to move to another rank as
Yeah.
start rank
Uh,
3.
I think that we need a solid. I always say Jenga tower, because it's what it is. We need a solid base to this Jenga tower. If we don't have one, then we try and stack more on top, and they're referential, then we're gonna end up having to change the abilities that we add anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
Fix 2 and then fix 3.
so how do we want 1 and 2 to interact? Because
Well, right now, they're interacting based on you taking damage for someone. We know. What's the first part? No. Okay, so without the mask, they're taking damage for you.
What about if we make it so that we do this? I think I've found a way of fixing it by
Because
fixing
right
it.
now the first halves of 1 and 2 don't really go together. The first half of 2 goes with the second half of 1.
Okay. So
what'd you do? Alright. Intercies.
God, fucking
Yes. You have the
fucking
choice,
E
but then when
key.
you're wearing the mask, it does the damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes rank 1 by itself enough of an ability to use, and then when you get the mask, it feels more satisfying.
I think, and now that the issue with 2 should be resolved.
Bring the mask. If you're wearing the mask. Yes. Yes, it does.
Okay. So, for those watching, let's say that you have an issue. If you have an issue with an ability, try and look elsewhere besides that ability to make sure that the issue can't be resolved somewhere else first. Because what you have at a certain stage can be very solid. You might just think it's flawed because there are so many other issues. And actually, while I was saying that, while I was thinking about, I was going to address that, I realized that the rank 2, the second part of it, is now flawed, given that the rank 3 is different. We don't make clones anymore. If you are wearing the mask, comma, you may have target ally with the mask receive the damage that you would take during this combat cycle.
Yes.
So now that we don't have clones with masks, that part of the ability doesn't make sense. So either this rank,
They're not going to have clones.
right. So either this rank 3 ability proliferates masks, it creates clones, or we change the second part of the rank 2.
I think it might, for right now, be easier to change the second part of rank 2 to target ally receive instead of target ally with max or with mask receive. Just for right now, we can always change that later if we find a better way to make it fit.
How is this class supposed to feel playing? Like, are you supposed to feel like you're, taking on their entire team by yourself and dodging shit, or is it supposed to feel like you're giving a performance?
Should
And
What we were thinking is we wanted you to feel like the enemy was your audience.
okay, so it is like trying to give a performance.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're like you're manipulating their expectations in a lot of ways with a number of your abilities.
Okay.
So redirection is a core part of the kit, but also targeting, discouragement, having your identity be shiftable. Those are, I think, are important. Mostly, we wanted them to be sort of a captive audience in a way, or for this mask to be a spotlight moment, or when you put it on, like that's a big thing. Um, and so that's what the if you are wearing the mask sections of the first 2 abilities should do. And in that way, I don't think that the rank 2's second part actually makes sense anymore. It's doing largely the same thing that rank 1 is doing. It's just putting the ability on rank 2 as well. And really, that part of rank 2 wasn't even going to make sense until we made it so that hitting your clones with damage did something. So
Right.
I think that has to be scrapped. And we have to
I think it's worth looking at what or who exactly you're interacting with this class, because it's pretty everywhere right now. Like, you're interacting with enemies, allies, yourself. There's no real clear you know, uh, party that you're interacting with. And I don't like that. That's probably going with a performance type theme, but um, maybe we can, you know, do something with that, like an ability that changes based around who you're trying to entertain. Like, I don't know.
Um, mm, that feels Rit Smithy in a way, given the duality of echo stacks, how they work with allies and enemies.
Yeah.
But
Well, it just seems thematically odd to me that in the that you're just focused on so many different groups of people. Like in the Lost Rider, we had a very clear self-centric idea through the entire 1 through 5, and now it's just literally everywhere in the first two abilities.
right,
Well, three technically, because you get the mask at
I think
three.
that the Cabaretto is very self-centered, uh, and not not necessarily in like a vindictive way, more in like in a detached sense. Like the Cabaretto's core conflict is of identity, and so it feels like since there's no real attachment to the self, that there should be no real attachment to others. Um, which I think if we wanted to, we could extrapolate out and justify the reason that the abilities are sort of everywhere right now, but that's probably something you could justify it in a number of ways. Besides that, it wouldn't make it any more right from a mechanical design perspective. Um, I do think that the first ability is interesting. I think it became a little bit less interesting after the change to uh, having the mask bit be about the damage rather than having the mask bit be about how it actually operates. Because one way felt like you were fundamentally changing it, changing the way that the ability interacted, and it was meaningful to flip the mask on or off. And now it feels like the mask is always better to have on for your first ability. And even though it fixed the issue with the second ability was kind of fundamentally broken anyway, in a way. The second part of it, at least. So I'd like to revert the change to the first ability and then figure out how to make this kit more focused or less focused in a cohesive way with the rank 2. What do you guys think?
I think it's probably a good idea. Um, Creating a very clear design sense in these the first 5 abilities really is gonna help us a lot later on. Um, Gotta say that from first glance, I thought we were gonna be designing like a debuffer, like it'd be kind of stunning the other team with your incredible performance, uh, but it looks like it's shaping out to be something that's not a debuffer that I don't necessarily know what it is.
Um, the lore behind the Cabaretto is not so much based upon the performances themselves, but more on the background, the reason why uh, she is traveling. She, I mean, her cover is that she's an actor, but she's assassinating targets while she's moving from town to town. The whole company of actors is doing so. So I think that the performance itself, um, as with the identity itself, they are both just deceptions. Yeah, the performance is a performance, which of course is a cliche, but unfortunately most things are. Um, and so we're looking at something that we're looking at a character that is not attached to their role in any meaningful way. Um, at least the sub role that they're playing, just as they're unattached to their identity. And I, we were having the same issue with the Ridsmith, where if the mechanics are detached from the character in some way, like let's say you had a Ridsmith, or for those watching, let's say that you have a time mage who doesn't care anything about time. How do you represent that to the player? And there are interesting ways, I guess, you can do that, but usually it means that the mechanics feel um, less directed. And when things are less directed, your goals become less directed, and you can feel as though you're not making progress when the rest of the people playing are, which is not something that we want. Ooh, this is rough.
So, we never want the players to be feeling like I think we need to create a sort of system for this class to work in that makes each combat experience dynamic. So, like, if you're going into a fight, you don't necessarily know, all right, I'll be the damage and I'm going to be on the front row and I'm going to do this. You're just going to kind of go improv it, I guess, if you don't want to be, taking any particular role. And you need to give players the tools to effortlessly switch between roles, whenever they want or just whenever it's appropriate.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. That's, I think that's what we need to do is take this mask, like the dichotomy between wearing your mask and not wearing your mask, and make it interesting on either side, and make it fun to switch between them.
This is gonna be super hard because we gotta find ways for like we need more than just two ways to experience the class, because it can be anything from like, all right, I'm melee damage and I put the mask on and now I'm a tank.
I don't
But what about supports?
I don't think that
Well,
they should be directly mirrored either. I think that the two identities should have different things that they want to be. So why don't we look to the first ability for what those things are? Because we've already crafted something. When you're not wearing your mask, you are timid or cowardly, I suppose, or you feign cowardice and allow for your allies to take damage from you, etc. When you are wearing the mask, you offer yourself up and become quite reckless and utilize the damage that enemies are dealing to you to burn them back. So perhaps those are the core of the identities that we're creating.
well, functionally, the first part makes you tankier, and the second part also makes you tankier.
No, because you're taking the damage.
It says, oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
It doesn't negate the first half. Yeah, never mind.
No.
Second half is making you do more damage. First half is making you be tankier.
Or more of what you're yeah, I think there is a difference between tankiness and avoidability.
Yes.
Well,
Or at
it's
least
mitigating damage
yes, sure,
from
yes,
yourself.
definitely. Mitigating damage from yourself but applying it to your team.
Yeah, the damage isn't going anywhere.
Well, you're
Other than
you're
the
gonna
supplies.
be applying it to someone who can take it, I would assume.
Sure, but
So
it's
the value of the damage is being diminished, so that's why I called it tankiness.
I don't disagree with the mitigating damage bit. I'm just clarifying that it's not like the matter is being destroyed. It is transferring to something else in an equal amount.
Mm-hmm.
And in that way, functionally, it is strictly worse than negating the damage.
Yeah. I
Um,
wasn't trying to imply that. If
Sure.
I did.
sure, I'm just clarifying for an audience.
Okay.
No, we're personally attacking.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
Take
How
that.
dare you?
I think, I think that, I think that the other thing is that it encourages resentment from the people you're playing with, and
What?
that's
Like, how would you mitigate the damage to me?
well, it's important to note that there are politics that go along with making a move like that. It's not just something that you do without asking someone. You know,
Hey man, I'm gonna make you take
Yeah,
this
you
damage. Is that okay?
it's like if you're
I
playing as
played Terrorblade.
yeah, if you're playing as that tank, right, and someone redirects the damage to you and it puts you low, like you'd prefer if they asked you first. So that's kind of what I'm getting at is they have to be a part of a plan. It encourages you to talk with your teammates and make them a part of the plans that you're making as a player, and hopefully that puts you into the same sort of mindset as this assassin who masterminds all of these assassinations. And if it doesn't, then we're fucked.
Need to fix that.
Yeah, sorry, I just killed a kid.
Oh, no. Two.
Target enemy receives direct damage equal to half the damage dealt. Why are all these people showing up on this document?
I don't know.
Do we have
No.
people talking in the Twitch chat?
No.
I didn't see last.
No, we do not.
Okay. That's
There's
fine.
people in our documents.
Talk to us. Ask us questions, guys.
Yeah, I think that's probably like people from the team.
Ah.
Yeah, but if you are watching, please do feel free to ask us questions or like ask us to clarify. I'm trying to go through and clarify and re-clarify to ensure that you guys are coming at it from as lucid and as clear an angle as possible. When we recently ran Logan through, took
Three hours.
yeah, three meetings, 2 meetings.
2 meetings, hour and a half each.
Yeah, and he was up to speed like that. I mean, he's pretty fast. But we don't expect you to come from background of understanding the game, because if you did, then we'd wonder how you got a hold of it. I think that my brain is getting a little
Pasty.
a little beaten about by this. I need to start focusing again. Because even though we're discussing things and they are pertinent, I'm having to get rid of that clone bit from the rank 3 and having
Threw you off course.
yeah, and cutting out the rank 2. I sort of had a direction that I was thinking it was going, and now that it's changed
Same.
directions, I'm thinking in a completely different way about it.
Yeah. I'm still coming up with ideas for clones, and I'm trying not to. It's just happening.
Yeah, it was a cool mechanic, you know, and now we don't have that cool mechanic anymore.
Yeah, we gotta think of something else.
Right.
And right now, he just feels kind of like just to me, a little bit of an acrobat.
Yeah.
He's just jumping around, dodging stuff, getting hit, hitting back.
Why are you redirecting damage? What is the okay? So for the Cavalier, the plan is clear. You're
Yeah.
moving, and that movement enables you either to get away from damage that's coming in toward you, or to move forward. I mean, the movement actually at rank 1 isn't that great. We look at the rest of the rank 1s.
On the Cavalier?
But the Cavalier's abilities, I think, have to be a little bit worse in general because of the rank 3 being so strong.
Right.
Even though I don't.
It's okay for 1 and 2 to fall off just a little bit to
Just-
make up for 3.
Just a tiny bit. I hope it's not enough to discourage someone from playing them.
No, at least I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah. So as a rank 1, this rank 1's actually got a lot of options for you. It's pretty damn good. The Cabaretto's rank 1. It's got 2 fundamentally different styles of play, one of which you can access from the outset.
And by itself, it's good enough.
Right. You may have target ally on your row become the target of an attacker ability that targets you. Okay. even though we said targeting 15 times there, I think that makes sense. The next instance, on rank 2 now, the next instance of damage that you would take during this combat cycle is shared between you and target enemy.
So if you don't use your rank 1, you can make them take damage back.
Well, the issue is that this rank 2, is a basic, so this takes the place of an attack.
Yeah.
Um, and it doesn't really do anything except for make them not target you, which you could already do with your rank 1.
Right.
So, how do we make this?
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's fine. How do we make this better? Is the question.
Basic. Well, do we want it to be an attack action or a deceitful action?
I thought about that. Like, it feels like it shouldn't be a direct attack. Like, attack target enemy, the next instance of damage. And that's how normally we'd address it. Like, okay.
Right. I think, strangely enough, that the wording on this would work better as an active instead of a basic, but I understand exactly why it's a basic.
We can't
I know.
make it. I want to. We have to. The thing I was thinking about doing was attacking the attack onto the damage, but
Perform a basic attack, and then the next instance of damage you would take is shared between you and target enemy. It's just what you were thinking of.
Like that. I was thinking that when you took the damage, you'd be able to attack back. That just doesn't. It's bad.
No, yeah, that's. I don't know. I don't know about that.
Next instance of damage that you would take this combat cycle is if that. You know what? I think that we do have to move to rank 2. Now that now that it's changed, now that everything's changed, I think that the being at 2 is what we have to do.
And that's something we talked about way earlier.
Yeah, it was way earlier. But I think now it's pertinent and happen because we can't.
Even though it's just a passive and the mask isn't doing anything than covering you up, it does give you the second part of rank 1.
Right. And thank you for explaining that to everyone. Because I wasn't even thinking explaining. It's necessary. My apologies to everyone watching. Alright. So now we can clear up what it is that the mask is going to do. And we can move forward from perspective. Hopefully. You know, we had like so much momentum earlier.
I know, we are slowing down.
But that's okay. Sometimes it's nice to hit a point where like spent so much. How many hours have we spent now?
4.5.
Oh my god. Hey, yeah, this is something that JJ 4 hours. Okay. We'll probably finish in about 5 hours. That was as many hours as I had last week. Yeah.
Where'd Josh go? Josh.
Reinforcements. Each of your turns you may choose between wearing mask. When the mask is on, comma, your HP bar cannot be seen by enemies and damage that target you is not revealed.
There's an extra space between target and you, it looks like. Perfect.
Fixed.
Now the skill is complete. See that I think that works relatively well.
We still need one more part to it. That part's going to be, but it has to be something like this is.
The
While
max,
it is at rank 2, this is the big passive.
right? Yeah, it does need more than that. It's just the question of what do we want the mask to do. Since we got rid of the clones, I kind of like the idea of. Oh wait, no, that was part of the clones. Crap.
Yeah,
Dang it.
it worked. It worked so well.
Maybe it just does the. Oh, that would be not making any sense either. No, kind of makes sense. Back to the idea I had where it slowly drains your health every turn, almost like a poison tick, and then when you remove it, it heals you.
But to what end?
Yeah, I know. And I've been trying to think of something again with the benefit of taking damage,
Right.
seeing as that is the secondary.
What I think is interesting about JJ's earlier plan of proliferating masks is that mask passive would then travel to your allies, and it allows us to get those different types of masks, like the different aesthetics on different characters, from an art perspective. It allows
Mm.
us to do that, but um, basically the HP bar not being able to be seen by enemies is actually fairly important.
It's a
Like that,
huge part of her deceptive.
and if you put it on
Yeah,
allies, it's really good.
yeah, it is.
Like that's
It's just as good as having it on her.
right. So we're gonna have to figure out where that mask proliferation when it's going to happen, which allows you to mask an ally. They gain the mask's passives. Masks passives. Period. Um, maybe what we do, maybe the way we make this work, instead of having it be that the mask is happening at rank 2. I know this is flip flopping on our decision, but maybe instead of it being at rank 2, we put it at rank 3 and we make the rank 2 ability um, good in its own right, but then when you have the mask on, it does whatever we would want losing HP to do.
Oh well, keeping the drain heal for part three,
Uh huh.
for rank three. Sorry,
Right.
could give. There's no reason not to give it a shot.
I just like my brain is so fried that I can't like I can't process it. I need to figure out what that's going to be beforehand because the processing power needed to move the abilities back and change the colors.
It's too heavy.
It's too much, right? I mean, we have been designing for like 5 hours straight.
Yeah.
This 48-hour design stream would be nuts. How I do that? One plus one is a billion.
Perfect.
So it's this thing, and it increases your attack by 10, and then it multiplies the damage by 2. Double. We call it mighty swing,
Okay.
and that's I think what the 48-hour design stream would yield. Okay, you guys like the idea of this? It's this bow ability, and you shoot 2 arrows.
Wait, what weapon does the Cabaretto
I don't
use?
know.
It's
Knives,
melee, but like, is
knives.
she throwing knives
Yeah, something like
like a
that.
performer, or is she
I
actually throwing knives? Probably best.
I sort of pictured it like those back initially when we were first starting the character. I was thinking she would be a performer and she'd have like this billowing lace sort of dress kind of, um, but it would be much more condensed and she'd have a whole bunch of like tiny little knives hiding in it, so she could kind of like spin and the knives would shoot out and hit people. And then as we kept on going through and I talked with the narrative team, some more if we were going to have a class that was female, that perhaps we should, if that class is going to be focused on gender identity, or sorry, identity in general, and a crisis of or dual identity, that perhaps we should make the character gender fluid.
But she does have that huge belt on her, right?
Belt.
Doesn't she have a like a belt across her
Yeah,
chest?
yeah, we're gonna be changing up her design, making her more androgynous, I think.
Right.
Um, Making it harder to tell for them.
And it doesn't mean she can't have hidden knives. I mean, she's an assassin
Sure,
essentially.
sure, sure. I'm just pointing out that like when we first started thinking about her, I thought knives. I didn't
No,
think like
yeah. As
crossbow
soon
or
as performing assassin, you can't not think knives.
knives, right?
It's a little difficult to not think knives. So where I was going with that is maybe something revolving around knives in an ability.
The problem with doing something like that, the reason that you won't see any ability to swords or axes or anything that would prototypically work within, like even the dwarves don't have anything about hammers, is that we are working in such a way that every ability should be able to work with every type of weapon that you can use. So like we don't want anything that says like 1,000 cuts or something, because you could have a mace or a flail or a bludgeon, and then the term cuts doesn't make sense. Like fan of knives would be interesting. I mean, throwing knives, and technically you wouldn't even need to have knives equipped to do that.
Yeah, they're hidden things
But
on.
but at the same time, it kind of feels like maybe that's something. I don't know. It's strange to me that I don't have. I would like to have a better reason for it too, but the reason that I have is that uh, I would like for the abilities to be more derived from character than action based.
Well, right, yeah.
And there's probably some ability up there somewhere above us that goes against that. I can't say that every single one, you know, it's that. But the other thing is that I just don't know where that would fit in at the moment.
Right, yeah, I know. It was just ideas.
Hmm. This is so rough. I'm sorry that I'm not producing very many over here.
No, it's fine. Maybe it's a possibility we just need to take a
Take a
break.
break. Yeah, it could be true. JJ did.
Yeah, I don't know where Josh is at
Would
all.
take his lead. I think he
Oh wait,
said
he had to go talk
yeah,
to Jim. That's right.
yeah,
He had to leave.
that's what he was saying. Well, damn. Not only did I kill another child with that, uh, but I think I think that we've gotten we had more done earlier.
We did
But I think this is an accurate portrayal of
the
the the,
process
the
of
process.
character design. Well, not character design, but skill design and stuff like that.
Hmm. You're gonna have days where you look at it and you think to yourself, "No." uh,
Remember how we thought this was great? I'm not feeling that anymore.
and each and every single one of the classes above had moments like this. Like when you look at it all laid out and you see how the abilities interact, it all makes perfect sense. Oh, okay, that one builds upon that one. That's great. And you think about it in retrospect, and you're like, well, that was actually relatively easy. I'll just go do another class tomorrow. But some of the most asinine stuff, some of the stuff that's not even all that good anymore when you go back and look at it. Like when I look at rank 2 of the Lost Strider, which is forage, and I look at the coin slash memento um, icon, it uh, all I can think about is how that morale charge is such a weird thing to be on the class, and for it to be happening frequently, it's just even stranger. But because of how long it took to get it, I've been unwilling to go back and spend time looking at it, especially since the class is done.
Right.
And there's a bunch of stuff like that where there are little changes that could be made, little edits, and you go through and you do some of them. Like we were talking about Outride back there. I think that that could probably be a little bit stronger than it is now. It just doesn't have to be. And if you're
Not,
constantly
not to mention it gets upgraded.
true, true. But if you're constantly re-editing, just re-editing through again and
You're gonna
again,
have a completely different character.
or you just nitpick yourself to death and never make progress. So uh, while those are in various states of error or disrepair, and the Ridsmith still needs names, I think that until the final time that we go through and edit everything before release, that these are done.
Right.
Uh, and you know, with the Cabaretto, we did make a lot of progress today. May not feel like it now.
No,
We
we did, yeah.
we've explored where the class can go and where it shouldn't go now. That's work that we don't have to do in the future. Plus, we have a full work log of all of it, except for no, we don't have a work log of the first part. We didn't put it on until later, did we?
No, we didn't do it till we went over goblins. Yeah, we missed all that actual good stuff.
Well, next time that we meet, we'll start the stream. It was great idea to start the stream now. Anyway, we'll start the stream